Good evening and welcome. Tonight, police rearrest runaway serial killer Sunday Shodigbe in Ibadan as Inspector General of Police warns against any complacency from operatives of the Oyo State Police Command. Two DSS officials shot dead in face-off with members of outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in Enugu. Deposed Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi, visits Kaduna, his first visit to the north since he was removed 5 months ago. And opposition supporters in Belarus hold mass rally in Minsk despite ban. Plus, Bayern Munich defeats Paris Saint-Germain to win their 6th UEFA Champions League title. After days of thorough search, including a placement of 500,000 naira bounty, the Oyo State Police Command today announced that it has rearrested a suspected serial killer, Sunday Shodigbe, who recently escaped from police custody in Ibadan. The 19-year-old suspect was a prime suspect in the multiple murder of innocent citizens at Akinyele local government area, Monia, Ibadan, Oyo State, had escaped from custody in suspicious circumstances. The escape of the suspect has sparked outrage across the country, forcing the Inspector General of Police to dispatch additional investigative aids to Oyo State, including crack detectives to track down the fleeing serial killer. Now that he has been rearrested, the police chief warned the state command against any form of complacency, warning that all hands must be on deck to bring the case to a positive and successful closure. He commends the state police command for a job well done and residents for their cooperation while the manhunt lasted. Meanwhile, the Department of State Services has confirmed 2 of its officers on patrol have been shot dead in what it calls an unprovoked attack by members of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in Enugu State today. The DSS said in a statement all measures have been put in place to ensure that the killers, and everyone involved in the act are apprehended and brought to justice consequently. Meanwhile, the Enugu State Police Commissioner has also been speaking on the incident where he said 3 people were shot dead and 5 suspects arrested. The police chief says the command was able to rescue 1 other operative of the DSS.
The genesis of the problem was that members of the secret police, DSS, were there on their own operation. That was early in the morning. So they came under attack and the IPOB took away 2 of their officers. So having got this more information, I quickly mobilized men to go for the rescue. We were lucky, we rescued 1 alive, and I had to seek for reinforcement from other sister security agencies, because here in Enugu State, the security agencies, we operate in unison with very good understanding and cooperation and collaboration. So the men from Garrison Command 82 Div were at hand. Men from Air Force Base under the leadership of the Air Force Base Commander, Air Commodore Ebere, were all there. So that was how we cordoned the area. The general area was very vast. We were able to go into one house where they went and, took the people hostage. And as you could see, these are the people, the 3 of them, that took the people hostage, and precisely this one was telling his members that gun will not touch them, let them continue to fire at the police and the soldiers. So we got them arrested and freed the inmates. While these 2, there were those that went into hiding after the first encounter.
From Enugu, we move to Kaduna, where the supporters of the deposed Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi II, throng the streets of the state capital to welcome him as he pays a private visit to his longtime friend, Governor Nasir El-Rufai. The visit, which is Al-Haji Sanusi's first trip to the north since he was deposed, also gave him an opportunity to make comments on some critical issues, including the handling of the security situation in Kaduna State and the controversy between Governor El-Rufai and the Nigerian Bar Association.
The streets of Kaduna State are agog and caught up in a frenzy of some sort. But make no mistakes about the trappings of these movements, reminiscent of a political rally by supporters. There is an August visitor in town, a former CBN governor, and if that doesn't ring a strong bell, well, he is the former Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi, deposed some months ago from his throne in Kano State. Since returning to Lagos after his ordeal, this is his first visit to the north, and perhaps to the man in the news, Governor El-Rufai. This meeting won't pass if he's not asked on the controversy over disinviting his host to the forthcoming MBA conference.
The case of the crisis in Kaduna, first of all, is something that predates this government. It's been on for a long time. And the governor is doing something about it for the first time in a long time. And more important for me, if you feel that the governor of Kaduna State is not doing well, you should invite him to your conference and ask him. And let him explain what he's doing. And tell him what you think he's doing wrong. You will learn something from him. He will learn something from you. Disinviting him is not the path of people who actually want progress.
His position is further strengthened on his conviction of the personality of the man in question, who he regards as a long-standing friend and a nationalist.
All our friends are Nigerians. Everybody who knows us, people don't even think of us as northerners, or because, I mean, really, we're just Nigerians. He's a governor in charge of the lives and property of states. He is the number one person concerned with peace.
With a calm look on his face, the governor's response focused on the reason the former top banker is visiting the state.
Kaduna State is very lucky to have His Royal Highness as the Vice Chairman of its investment promotion agency because of his wide global network, his integrity and reputation, which has been recognized both within Nigeria and abroad. So I'm very happy to welcome him. We are greatly honored, Your Highness, and I am deeply touched that the first place you chose to visit since you relocated to Lagos is Kaduna State.
The MBA conference is days away, and expectations are rife as to the speakers that will finally make the list. Muhammad Sanusi has lent his voice, but more importantly for the people of Kaduna State will be the business investment he is here to promote.
Staying in Kaduna State, some warring communities in Zango local government area have agreed to a peace pact to end the bloody clashes and constant attacks that have left several people dead and property destroyed. The agreement follows a meeting between the Fulani leaders, Atiap and Hausa communities in Zango local government area. A part of the 14-point resolution reached at the meeting include the need for all parties to avoid resorting to self-help.
Over the years, ethno-religious crises have ravaged many communities in southern Kaduna. Since the beginning of 2020, not less than 20 villages in Zongo Kataf, Kauru, Kwara and Jema local government areas have come under heavy attacks by gunmen that have left scores of people dead and their houses destroyed. But the warring communities have decided to sheath their swords and embrace peace. That's the reason for this meeting by leaders of the Hausa, Atiap and Fulani communities in Zongo Kataf local government area of the state.
No amount of revenge, bitterness, calumny, hatred, or name-calling can bring back those who have lost their lives in this senseless, condemnable, and unnecessary bloodletting. Posterity will judge us if we do not act now to arrest the ugly situation.
Although we have some people that have come to assist us in the process of building peace, I do want to remind all of us again that the responsibility of ensuring peace is that of us, those of us who are in this local government council, this local government area.
The communities admit that all parties are casualties of the conflict, with an agreement that enough is enough in the bloodshed and acrimony.
I am for peace, not for... If my people are living in peace, I will sleep in the night. But if there is problem, I can't sleep. So Dole will have to fight for the peace and see that we succeeded on this issue.
Honestly speaking, for a day like this to be organized, for this sitting, with the Atia people, with the Hausa people and the Fulani people, I think for just agreeing to come, there's already a light at the end of the tunnel that there's going to be peace.
There can be no peace without justice. It is important that the subject of justice is pursued both by the government and also those who are stakeholders, because justice means that you find a way to give justice to everybody.
Perhaps with the presence of security agencies in the volatile communities and the willingness of the stakeholders to embrace peace, it is hoped that the outcome of the meeting will fulfill the anticipation of those who are displaced from their homes to return to a more secured environment where peace and justice will reign supreme.
There are also security concerns in Adamawa State, and Governor Umaru Fintiri is pledging his resolve not to give up until lasting peace is achieved in the state. The governor made the comments during a meeting with leaders of the state chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Yola, the state capital. He insists there must be peace and stability to promote development, which is predicated on good governance, tolerance, harmonious coexistence, and genuine reconciliation.
It's a meeting between the governor of Adamawa State and leaders of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Adamawa chapter. The governor arrives at the state secretariat of CAN, accompanied by his deputy and other government officials. First, he takes a tour of the newly constructed CAN secretariat before being ushered into the meeting. In his address, Governor Fintiri expressed satisfaction that Adamawa has maintained its posture as a peaceful state despite conflicts and insurgency which threatened its peace in the past. He adds that the peace being enjoyed today is as a result of his government's good thinking and mediation efforts in collaboration with groups and stakeholders like CAN working assiduously to unite the people.
I'm happy that Adamawa has maintained its posture as a peaceful state despite conflicts and crises that have threatened its peace in the past. Today, those diversities that have made communities become deeply polarized and characterized by deep-rooted and intense animosity, mutual fear and stereotyping, driven by dynamics of destructive persuasions that play up primordial perceptions and emotions, have disappeared.
In his welcome address, the chairman of CAN, Adamawa State Chapter, applauds the efforts of the Umaru Fintiri-led administration in ensuring that peaceful coexistence and security is achieved in the state.
CAN in Adamawa State is happy to partner with your government to promote peace and support good leadership, peaceful coexistence, interfaith, intercommunal dialogue, and support the aspiration for just and egalitarian Adamawa State. Inasmuch as CAN is an autonomous organization, independent of government, CAN will definitely collaborate with your government to ensure peace, justice, development, and progress in our dear state.
The chairman, on behalf of the Christian community in the state, uses the opportunity to appreciate the governor for the equal opportunities given to all residents of his state, irrespective of tribe, creed, and geographical location. Although Adamawa State has witnessed some level of relative peace in the state, many see this meeting between state government officials and religious leaders as a right step towards entrenching peaceful coexistence, which is necessary for development.
In part two, after the break, members of the United States Government Exchange Alumni Association discuss how the media can fit in business models and aid social transformation. Join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us, to watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Police rearrest runaway serial killer Sunday Shodipe in Ibadan as Inspector General of Police warns against any complacency from operatives of the Oyo State Police Command. 2 DSS officials shot dead in face-off with members of outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in Enugu. The post-emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi, visits Kaduna, his first visit to the north since he was removed 5 months ago. And opposition supporters in Belarus hold mass rally in Minsk despite ban. While Bayern Munich defeats Paris Saint-Germain to win their 6th UEFA Champions League title. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You could also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Members of the United States Government Exchange Alumni Association have held the 3rd edition of the Alumni Talk Series, focusing on how the media can fit into business models and aid social transformation. This edition is held virtually with Dr. John Momo, the chairman of Channels Media Group, as the guest speaker, taking participants on how to harness the full potential of the power of the media. Our correspondent, Dari Idowu, reports.
The United States Government Exchange Alumni Association is an umbrella network for Nigerian professionals from several U.S. Department of State exchange programs. The association is seeking to create a society of possibilities where innovation and creativity thrives for the purpose of development. The president of the association, Jude Ememe, opens the conversation, giving reasons why this edition of the talk series is timely.
Really my pleasure on behalf of the United States Government Exchange Alumni Association to welcome everyone to our 3rd Leadership Empowerment webinar. Media is critical to global linkages and connectivity.
This virtual talk series, organized by the United States Government Exchange Alumni Association, is focused on effective and strategic engagement of the media and to help participants navigate the rough economic terrain.
From all parts of the country as well. We welcome everyone.
A representative of the United States Consulate lays the premise with examples of how the media has been instrumental to social change and policy formulation.
Today's age of information and networking has paved the way for massive social networks of communication, which has resulted in some global justice movement, which we all know about, such as the Me Too campaign and the Black Lives Matter movement. And these movements through media and social media have directly influenced major policy and law changes.
Shall we formally invite Dr. John Momo to now speak to us?
Dr. John Momo, chairman of Channels Media Group, the guest speaker, who doubles as a fellow and a media entrepreneur, gives an insight of how the media can come to the rescue, especially in times like these.
As you probably know, because technology has intermediated the media's editorial function, anyone can publish his or her own view of events, resulting in a diffusion of rumor, fantasy, and emotion unconstrained by reason of reality. And it's precisely because we find ourselves in this most post-factual world that strong relationships with the media are very necessary and they're essential. The question then is, how can the media be put to effective use to actualize your desire to make greater impact in those chosen areas of endeavor and passion? You've got to create a mission, a purpose, and the goals for your brand's message, and then decide where the message, along with its mission, purpose, and goals, will best fit.
There's a consensus among the speakers that the effects of the mass media on members of the society cannot be undermined, as it remains an inseparable part of contemporary life, but the changing appetite and sophistication of the audience has necessitated more investment in technology. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
Here's a statement of caution and alert to residents of Isheri and Igondo areas of Lagos. The State Fire and Rescue Service is calling attention to a petroleum motor spirit leakage at Ondo on Atlas Cove Mosimi System 2B pipeline segment. The acting head of the agency, Mrs. Margaret Adesheye, says firefighters have been mobilized to the scene after a distress call was received this morning from some residents of Peace Estate in Isheri. She explains that the safety officials discovered that PMS was gushing out from the pipeline linking Isheri to Igondo and environs of Alimosho. According to her, the NNPC pumping operations has been suspended while men of the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service are putting the situation under control. She asked residents to avoid making open fire along these areas to avert danger pending the conclusion of the repair works by the NNPC. To other stories now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to revoke assent to the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. That's CAMA 2020 for short, to face legal action. In an open letter to the president, the body asked him to send the legislation back to the National Assembly to address its fundamental flaws, including the removal of repressive provisions, particularly sections 839, 842, 843, 844, and 850, contained in Part F of the Act. The organization in a statement says, "Please note that SERAP has instructed its legal counsel, Femi Falana, to take all appropriate legal actions on our behalf should your government fail and or neglect to act as requested." The organization also urged President Buhari to instruct the Registrar General of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Alhaji Garba Abubakar, and Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, not to implement or enforce the CAMA 2020 until the legislation is repealed. We continue with our updates on the COVID-19 pandemic as more religious homes reopen for worship after 5 months of closure. Efforts are still ongoing to contain the community spread of coronavirus across the state. In Ondo State, for instance, the state government says it is monitoring activities across churches in the state and wants residents to continue to adhere strictly to laid down safety protocols.
Newly reopened churches with inscriptions hard to ignore. 5 months away from here, they appear grateful to be back. The atmosphere in the church auditorium is electrifying, full of praise, renewing their faith and relationship with God. Safety protocols, face masks, hand washing, physical distancing, among other precautions, are strictly obeyed as the state task force, led by the State Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, monitors situations around churches in Ogun State.
They've done well, but that's not that we've stopped. We are still going to come back and make sure that the right thing is done. It's a new norms. We just have to make sure we align ourselves with it so that at the end of the day, everybody will be at peace. The state will be at peace and the whole world will be at peace.
But while this was going on, the elderly, pregnant women, and underage were not allowed to worship as they fall within the bracket of the most vulnerable to the coronavirus.
0 to 15 years should not come to church. Pregnant women should not come to church for now. And men and women that are 65 years old and above 65 years old should not come to church for now. We have already issued that statement. It's already on the platform of the church, and we have it on the notice board that people, or those 3 categories of people, should not come to church.
The Ogun State government is appealing to the residents for cooperation, especially in observing the set protocols, as not only a way to curb the spread of COVID-19, but also an everyday hygiene practice.
To politics, the All Progressives Congress in Edo State is accusing the governor Obaseki's government of attempting to confuse voters with wrong facts by allegedly claiming ownership and credit for the modular refinery being built in the state, which the party says belongs to and was funded by private investors and supported by the federal government. Briefing newsmen in Benin City, the state capital, the chairman of Edo State APC Media Campaign Council, Mr. John Mayaki, said the clarification became necessary in view of contrary claims by the state government. In its reaction, the People's Democratic Party in the state insists
falsified and inconsistent academic records and credentials. The bargaining has come to the point of broad daylight robbery of projects and initiatives. Today, the lie is with Edo Modular Refinery at Ondo, a project that, having been funded by both foreign businesses and federal government, has neared completion and commissioning. And then suddenly, Obaseki, the MOU and sleeping government emerges from his sleep and slumber. Why is the government of Obaseki parading the premises of the refinery, claiming to have achieved a landmark project? The answer is clear. The Edo State government, led by Governor Obaseki, has achieved nothing for the past 4 years. They have been at the end of affairs, doing nothing except signing of MOU. Now then, that it has come to the period where it is important to showcase its project portfolio, the administration is fumbling and biting dust, looking for whom to deceive and mislead.
In its reaction, the People's Democratic Party in the state insists through its spokesperson, Chris Nekari, that the state government has a huge stake in the project, which is designed to benefit its citizens.
This refinery is a project of the Edo State government in public partnership with a private company. And even the company has come out with a statement to confirm that it's an Edo State project. Edo State has a large stake in that project, provided a lot of money, about 700 million naira of Edo State money, and we provided the land for which this refinery was built. So for all intents and purposes, it's an Edo State government project propelled by the vision of Governor Obaseki to create jobs for our teeming youth.
When the News at 10 returns, we'll have more on the Edo State governorship election. Plus, we're telling you what has been described as the highest waterfall in West Africa. You wonder where that is? We'll find out after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Staying in Edo State, the All Progressives Congress has promised to prioritize the issue of women and youth development if given the mandate to rule in the upcoming Edo governorship election. The wife of the APC governorship candidates, Professor Idia Ize Iyamu, and other party leaders made this promise during a campaign rally in Owan West, local government area of the state.
APC women leading the party's campaigns to Uzeba, Onwa West local government area of Edo State. The wife of the APC governorship candidate, Professor Idiaize Yamu, and that of his running mate, Nana Audu, are among those who are here to sensitize other party women on the importance of the upcoming election and the need for them to vote for the APC. The visitors who take turns to address the gathering maintain that women have more to gain from the APC manifesto, the simple agenda, if the party is given a chance in the September 19 governorship election.
Not throw away this opportunity. Not throw away for small money when they go take one bribe you. Not throw away because the one where they give you last time. Not be suffer una dey so. They give una chicken money, una go the other way. Una can't see that they don't pay una for 4 years. 4 years no hospital. 4 years no money for business. 4 years no loan. 4 years nothing to change your life. We won't promise you. Say we are coming with an agenda. That agenda is easy very well. That's why they say now simple agenda. I beg, when you reach out, tell your husband, tell your son, tell your daughter, tell your neighbor, tell everybody, you they go farm, you they come from farm. I will join you to vote for Pastor Yamu.
This local women mobilizer believes that the APC candidate has the pedigree and a simplified manifesto which puts him way up there ahead of his rivals.
This is the first time we are seeing a manifesto given to the public that this is what I want to do. This is the contract between me and you as a people. If I fail, if I succeed, judge me with this by this contract. Judge me. It's like you are giving out a marking scheme even before writing the exam. I mean, this is why the people are so eager.
The All Progressives Congress continues to tour the state, campaigning ahead of the election, while encouraging women to come out and vote for the APC in order to turn things around for good.
Meanwhile, in Ondo State, the ruling All Progressives Congress has won all the chairmanship seats in the 18 local government areas of the state. The chairman of the State Independent Electoral Commission, Professor Yomi Dinaki, made the announcement at the end of the electoral process today. He says there was no contest in 5 local council areas where only candidates of the APC stood for election. 10 political parties, including the ruling APC, participated in council poll, while major opposition, the PDP and the ZLP, boycotted the exercise. The Owu Falls, situated in Owanire community, is believed to be the highest waterfall in West Africa. However, residents of this community under Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State complain of not benefiting from the potential the waterfall has to offer in terms of tourism. Our community report tonight visits the Owu Falls for a feel of the 120-meter-high wonder and to know what plans of upgrade authorities have in mind.
Not a lot happens in Owanire community in the Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State. Everyone appears to follow routine. Fetching firewood, getting visits from the community hairstylist, and pockets of youth setting up for a football game. If only there was something to spring this community into life. This sign gives an indication that there is, as the word at the top right corner spells fun. However, the trip to the promise of excitement would make any visitor reconsider. The drive is stopped abruptly by the road and the climb becomes arduous. Rocks come to the rescue, providing a balance before the journey can continue. Finally, the arrival at Owu Falls, the highest waterfall in West Africa. Measuring 120 meters above sea level and cascading 330 feet down on an escarpment, the sight is indeed a wonder, as is the sound of water crashing down. Visitors come to get a feel of the environment. Adventurers take it a step further, and others quench their thirst of curiosity. Overall, it seems to be a tourist delight.
A lot of activities can be done here, and you can see the pool of water here. Tourists can actually swim here, and also the stream there, we can do canoeing and kayaking.
But could there be more on offer from what the waterfall is presently generating?
This was is very, it's a potential area where people came from other places to visit the fall. There are a lot of benefit in that area. For the state government, fellow local government and Owa Onire.
Assurance is given by the state's commissioner for communication that the time for harnessing the potential of the falls is now.
The government of today is very ready, and we are looking at bringing in investors to develop this site because it's actually a very huge one, and it can actually improve the economies of this community as well as increase the IGR of the state.
The residents wait for intervention as promised. And if it comes to be, then the resulting boom in tourism will lift the spirits of the quiet community.
There is growing a worrisome trend of youths in Bauchi State who have turned begging into a means of earning a living, and the phenomenon is popularly known as quorum in local parlance. Public affairs analysts say it is a social problem caused by decay in moral values and youth unemployment. They advocate the need to revisit what went wrong and provide lasting solutions to the problem, which is already posing a potential security threat. Our correspondent, Hajira Aliyu, in this special report, examines the culture of begging among youths.
It ended up for these youths in a wild goose chase after devoting so much energy, racing after vehicles for free money. Sometimes they accomplish their mission, but fight over peanuts handed to them. This set of able-bodied persons are called Nkwaram, a local slang in Bauchi, referring to people with abilities who beg for sustenance. They can be likened to the area boys. They throng social gatherings, with their biggest catch being politicians, who are also accused of encouraging the rising culture.
Quorum, whether in the form of corporate begging, political thugs, or jobless youths, any form of begging at all is frowned at by the society and the two major religions. It is considered morally wrong and tend to hasten the erosion of social and moral values.
The phenomenon is now common among youths, most of them from poor homes, jobless and uneducated. When they are not out doing quorum, you find them in the streets, spending a better part of their day sitting idle.
Mu damuwan mu a sama mana ko bude gate da rufewa ko yankan fulawa ko ban ruwa ko shara ko me mu dai mu san muna da yanci.
Despite being ready to do the menial jobs, most industries that absorb youths like them are comatose, as analysts raise the red flag.
Some of these challenges we're having of insecurity in the country, you know, like I do, that these youths are always the ones that are used to perpetrate some of these nefarious acts. And it is important, if at all the government, wants to nip this thing in the bud, concerted efforts must be made. Very practical and realistic, approaches must be taken to address this case of unemployment.
The COVID-19 pandemic has made matters worse, but the Bauchi state government says it is not relenting in addressing the challenges.
Before this corona, we have a plan to engage about 10,000 youths, and His Excellency, he wants to empower them for they should enter business. Some they need only 10,000, some they need 20,000, some they need 30,000 for them to start a business.
Public analysts suggest that a collective approach between society and government at all levels is required to tackle the menace, with policies based on peculiarity of the environment rather than implementing a blanket national policy. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Securing lives and property is an expensive investment. The alternative is even more expensive. The approved takeoff budget for community policing in Nigeria is 13 billion. Is there a formula to how this money will be allocated, and how soon will citizens feel the impact? I share insights about the new strategy of the Nigeria Police, the community police budget, and crime patterns is Babajide Ogusowo, the data and information consultant here at Channels Television. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening, Amarachi.
So 13 billion naira approved for training, sensitization, and equipment for community policing. Which units are the most critical to improve national security?
That's a lot, and that was fast. But I'll go into that. But first, I'd like to tell you that we don't face a pandemic that is worse than the coronavirus. And I'll share that with you a bit later, and I think you should pay attention to it. But to your question, what unit? The Inspector General of Police that talked about sensitization, training, and equipment. But there's a unit that is the most important that wasn't mentioned. The unit that requires perhaps the highest amount of money, and that is trust. A lot of money needs to go into rebuilding trust. Here's what I mean. The most recent report from the National Bureau of Statistics that surveyed the prevalence of bribery among public officials in Nigeria still ranks the Nigerian police as the number one. Nigerians rank the Nigerian police as the number one institution where we still have a high prevalence of bribery. And so while it is important for community policing and the money that have been budgeted to go into buying equipment, sensitization, and training, it is important for the Nigerian police to also understand the role of investing in rebuilding trust. And quickly, I'd like to talk about 3 ways that the Nigerian police can approach this. The first is to fight bribery, clearly. And by fighting bribery, they could take example of some countries that have attempted to change the uniforms of their policemen to have no pockets. Clearly, if you have no pockets, there's nowhere
to put your money, right?
Another example is body cameras. The Nigerian police can make use of body cameras to ensure it fights bribery. That's the first of 3 things. The second is we need to fight misinformation. That is the greatest pandemic we face right now. Misinformation is the #1 cause of all the polarization we see today. Now, recent evidence suggests that the armed forces are making some gains in fighting misinformation that the terrorists are using. But the Nigerian police also has to understand that a lot of misinformation is leading to polarization, which is affecting the results they want to achieve. And thirdly, we need to fight I call that traditional beliefs, yes, traditional beliefs. And that's because traditionally, the Nigerian police uses a lot of force. And so going forward, the evidence shows that force is not the only way to solve crime in Nigeria. And so if we're able to look at fighting bribery, fighting misinformation, which has become a pandemic, and also fighting traditional beliefs, will make a lot of progress regarding our community policing.
And probably allowing citizens to hold police accountable too. But is there a recruitment strategy now to get the best hands, for the community policing job?
Now, I'd like us to look at that from perhaps the perspective of why do Nigerians join the police? And a recent research report provides some evidence after polling some police officers. And I'd like to want us to take a look at the results of that survey.
Right.
And from that survey, why did you, or what was the most important reason that you considered when you joined the Nigerian police? And that survey showed that 47% of those that joined the Nigerian police said that it was because of employment. Then we have another 32% that said it was because they wanted to secure lives and property. 12% said it was because of passion. And 9% said
they don't know.
So we need to ask ourselves that question, that strong question, which is the recruitment into the Nigerian police a job creation program, or is it a program to secure lives and property? The evidence today suggests and shows that majority of those that are joining the Nigerian police is really not to secure lives and property. It is because of employment, income.
Now, very quickly, does the approved budgets include salaries for police officers serving under the scheme?
Now, the Inspector General of Police did not make it clear if the 13.13 billion naira budget was for salaries or will also include salaries. But here's what my research shows. The average salary of a sergeant in Nigeria is approximately 60,000 naira. Really insufficient for their cost of living. We've seen the Champions League match played tonight, even though Cristiano Ronaldo didn't play. But here's the evidence we have. The 1 month salary of Cristiano Ronaldo will pay for the salary of 20,000 Nigerian sergeants. And so, while we understand that there's a need to get more men, we also need to understand that there's a need for us to pay policemen well to be able to fight crime. In the final analysis, Amarachi, community policing is important, but what is more important is truthful policing.
Indeed, and Nigerians can appreciate that. Babajide, thank you again for being here. It was nice catching up with you every Sunday.
As always, the pleasure is mine.
Now, more than 55,000 people have died from the coronavirus in India as the country on Saturday recorded as many as 69,878 new cases and 945 deaths in 24 hours. Over the past few weeks, the government has been focusing on ramping up testing of COVID-19 samples. Here's a global update.
Ill health in the long run.
The UK's chief medical advisor says children are more likely to be harmed by not returning to school next month than if they catch coronavirus. Professor Chris Whitty said the chances of children dying from COVID-19 are incredibly small, but missing lessons damages children in the long run. Millions of pupils in England, Wales and Northern Ireland are due to return to school within weeks.
The evidence that not going to school damages children in the long run is overwhelming, and that includes their long-term chances. It increases the risks of disparities, entrenches problems, deep-rooted problems that people may have. It increases the risk that they have mental and physical ill health in the long run.
The confirmed COVID-19 cases in Japan has increased by 984 to reach 62,046 as of Saturday night, according to the latest figures from the country's health ministry and local authorities. The figure excludes the 712 cases from the Diamond Princess cruise ship that was quarantined in Yokohama near Tokyo, as high numbers of new cases are still reported in some urban areas because more people traveled across the country during this month's Bun Festival period. Residents in Madrid are expressing worries over a second wave of coronavirus in the country, given the rise in positive cases in recent days in the Spanish capital. Authorities earlier advised residents in areas with high level of coronavirus cases to stay at home, as the Spanish Health Ministry reported more than 3,000 new infections for the fourth day running. In Peru, at least 13 people were crushed to death or asphyxiated as clubbers tried to flee a Lima nightclub raided by police because it was operating in violation of restrictions imposed to fight the coronavirus pandemic. Officials say at least 6 others were injured, including 3 police officers, as around 120 people tried to escape the Thomas Restaber Club on Saturday.
Opposition supporters have held a mass rally in the Belarusian capital Minsk 2 weeks after the controversial elections that brought President Alexander Lukashenko back in office. The protesters say Mr. Lukashenko stole the election and want him to resign. The president has vowed to crush the unrest and blamed the dissent on unnamed foreign-backed revolutionaries. Recent protests were met with a crackdown in which at least 4 people were killed. Demonstrators said they had been tortured in prison as well. Bundesliga champions Bayern Munich are European champions again for a sixth time after overcoming Paris Saint-Germain 1-0 in a tightly contested Champions League final in Lisbon. Kingsley Coman, who started his career at PSG, settled a tense affair with a 59th minute header at the far post from Joshua Kimmich's cross to leave the French giants still searching for that elusive Champions League triumph. It was a night of joy for Bayern coach Hansi Flick, who added the Champions League to the Bundesliga and the German Cup after initially taking over as interim coach from sacked Niko Kovac in November. Bayern becomes the first team to win the trophy by winning every Champions League game in a single campaign. UEFA President Alexander Seferin has admitted the single-game knockout format used in the Champions League this year from the quarter-final onwards has produced more exciting football than the usual two-legged games and could be revisited in the future. Mr. Seferin says without a second leg to fall back on, teams have been forced to go for goals.
Look, for sure, it's a very interesting format. But a format with one match, with a system like it's now, I think it would be much more exciting than the format that was before. So we were forced to do it, but at the end we see that we found out something new. So we will think about it in future for sure.
In tennis, Britain's Andy Murray admits he feels physically good after his opening round win in the Western and Southern Open at Flushing Meadows. Murray beat American Francis Tiafoe 7-6, 3-6, 6-1 in his first ATP Tour match of the year. The two-time champion will next face German fifth seed Alexander Zverev at the warm-up for the US Open at the same New York venue from August 31st. To the racetrack, Miguel Oliveira has become the first Portuguese rider to claim a MotoGP victory in the Syrian Grand Prix in a race that was restarted after a horror crash involving championship contender Maverick Vinales produced a red flag earlier today. Oliveira edged Pramac Ducati's Jack Miller and pole sitter Paul Espargaro of KTM in a three-way battle on the final lap, sealing a first-ever Premier Class victory for the KTM Tech 3 team. The championship will head to Italy for a doubleheader at the Misano World Circuit, with the first race scheduled for September 13th. The main news again. The police today rearrested the notorious runaway serial killer Sunday Shodipe in Ibadan after he fled from police custody a few days ago. The Inspector General of Police, however, warned against any complacency from operatives of the Oyo State Police Command. Also today, the deposed Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, visited Kaduna State, his first visit to the north since he was removed. He commended Governor El Rufai over the handling of the security challenges in the state and faulted the Nigerian Bar Association for withdrawing its invitation to the governor to speak at the association's annual conference. And opposition supporters in Belarus today held a mass rally in Minsk, despite ban by government. The protesters are challenging the election that brought President Alexander Lukashenko another term in office. That's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Stay safe.